Hello, this is wmpyr. I received a question in the comments section, so I'm going to try to answer that. It says, how do you feel Eskrima stands up as a traditional martial art in terms of effectiveness in real life self-defense situation, right? So, yeah, of course, I'm going to think that Eskrima is very effective, right? And we're talking about the Eskrima that is the traditional Eskrima. So one thing I want to make clear to you guys is that I evolved Eskrima, the traditional Eskrima. I learned that and I evolved it for me. So even though I do that, and now when a lot of people do that, when they have an original style and then they evolve it into something else, or they've trained in other styles and they come up with something new, they usually don't look back on the old stuff. But for me, I teach both. I teach the original traditional Eskrima that I learned, and I also teach my evolved new version, which is a hybrid with other styles and stuff, and new findings that I, did experiments and found for myself and whatever, and modified, right? So I teach both versions to this day. So please keep that in mind. Why? Because I find value in both traditional and also my version. I think they're both, have good stuff there. So once again, when a student comes, I teach both, and I try to tell them this comes from the traditional and this is my stuff. I try to make it clear, so that they know where it comes from. And yeah, so this person is I believe asking me about the traditional Eskrima, and yeah, definitely I think it's very effective, but I believe every martial arts instructor, every martial arts practitioner feels that their style is very effective. That's a given, right? That's why you're practicing it, because you think it's practical or effective in some way, shape, or form. So if that's true, and we all think that, then that pretty much means that this is just an opinion. And with an opinion, there is no right or wrong, because we're all entitled to an opinion. And it's really no point arguing, who's right, who's wrong, because it's an opinion. So that's kind of the way that I see that. And therefore, a martial arts style to me is just a tool. And if it's a tool, then it's a thing. And if it's a thing, then it could be effective, it could be not effective, and everything in between. How is this possible? This is possible because it's a tool, so it's like a hammer. There is no guarantee that the hammer you have is going to work well for you, or that it's going to fix the situation at hand, or not. It may or it may not. That depends on the situation, and that depends on you. If you pick the hammer at the wrong time for the wrong job, it's probably not going to work, right? So, once again, it's just a tool. So what I'm trying to say is it's up to you. It's up to you to make sure that you use the hammer correctly, and you have the skills to use the hammer, and you have the knowledge to know when to use the hammer and when not to use the hammer. Does that make sense? So that's the same with a martial arts style. So that's really up to the practitioner and not the style. So the style itself is just like this neutral thing, and it's up to you to make it beneficial for you. And a simple example I could give you guys is like regular scholastic academia. So academic study, we all went to school and learned math, right? And the classroom is like, what, 30 students? And the teacher is teaching us math. And out of the 30 students, some people were good at math, some people were not, and everything in between. And, now as an adult, some of us use math, for when we go shopping, right? Or when you go to a restaurant and you got to figure out the tip, things like that. And maybe that's the extent. That's about it. Other than that, you don't really use math, you know. So then you're not making necessarily the most out of math. There's other people that use math much more, much more. And for them, math is very practical, very effective, and it helps them out a lot in their daily life. And maybe, who knows, it might even be linked to a career. So, you know, if they're an accountant or whatever, then they're constantly using math, and it also brings in money for them to feed the family and pay the bills. Then math is extremely effective for that person. You know, they're really getting the most out of math. So I view martial arts the same way. You know, the style. What are you doing to make the most out of it, to make it beneficial or not? So that's really up to you. If you train in Taekwondo and you get into a street fight and the guy takes you to the ground, maybe the guy did some MMA or he did some grappling or he was a wrestler or whatever, he takes you to the ground and beats your butt, right? He kicks your butt. A lot of times we go, there you go, Taekwondo failed. Taekwondo failed me. Well, that's not the way that I view it. I want to have responsibility for myself and not blame Taekwondo. So in my eyes, it's not that Taekwondo failed this person. The person failed to use Taekwondo effectively. That's the way that I view it. To have responsibility for yourself, because you were there in the street fight, you know, in the self-defense situation. That was you, you know. So it's up to you how effectively use whatever style, Taekwondo or Tai Chi or whatever style it is that you practice. That's up to you. What did you do to make your Taekwondo effective in a street situation? What did you do? You know, and if your answer is, well, I went to a McDojo Taekwondo school, if that's all you got, then I'm not sure, yeah, that you really did the best, you know. Now, you could still go to a McDojo Taekwondo school. Not all Taekwondo schools are, but some are definitely McDojos. And let's say you go to a McDojo, but outside of that, after class, you spar and you have friends that do other styles and you constantly spar with them. Then I think you have a much better chance of making your Taekwondo skills effective, even though you got those skills from a Taekwondo McDojo. Do you see what I'm saying? So in that case, then, you know, you're doing stuff to make what you learned, what you enjoy, more effective. Then, you know, you're doing a good job there. So I kind of feel like, you know, it's really not the style. And the reason why I said this, that was an extreme example, but, you know, I actually know several guys, you know, I don't want to name names, but I know guys that have actually trained in schools that were fraudulent. They found out that the grandmaster was a con artist and he was a total liar and he was taking advantage of his students and he was just milking them for money and who knows what other bad stuff that this dude was doing, right? And one of them's on YouTube. He's very talented, way more talented martial artist than I ever will be. And this guy came from that school. That's where he got his black belt and everything. But, you know, and he was very concerned about that too. And I remember he asked me, he was like, man, I come from this school. And I actually know another friend that came from that school as well. So I'm actually familiar with that school. I've never attended the school, but I've been to one of their tournaments when I was supporting my friend because he competed in it, in forms and also in the point fighting that they did. So I went to go support him. I remember, but anyway, so I am familiar with the school and I know the kinds of stuff that they were put through and the scam that was going on and stuff like that. But so anyway, I told this guy on YouTube. I said, hey, dude, man, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the stretching, hitting the pads, the focus mitts, the sparring, practicing the forms, all of that you did for real. All the blood, sweat, and tears is real. And nobody can take that away from you, even if your instructor was a fraud, a liar. The form is made up. Um, you know, the lineage is fake. Even though all of those things may be true, you still put in real work, real effort, and that is not a lie. So, once again, then that should kind of show you that the style is not that important. You know, it's the effort that you make, that you put in. And like I said, that guy is still doing YouTube videos, and he's still um, teaching and training martial arts, and man, he is a solid, legit martial artist, even if where he got his black belt from originally was a total fake. He himself is super legit, at least from my eyes. And he doesn't need me to tell him that. Okay, I'm nobody. I'm just saying, at least from my eyes, I feel that he's the real deal. He's awesome. Very talented guy. Very and not just talented. And I wouldn't mess with him. Effective and whatnot. It's not just that. It's also as an instructor, as a human being. He also seems. I don't know him like super well, but from what I gather, he seems like a solid guy too. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. So some things to think about. That's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.